Welcome back, everyone, for this session on survivors, the most qualified anti-trafficking experts incorporating their voices. As I said in my introduction, survivors advocates will inform every session of the conference with their views and insights. Having lived their experience of modern slavery and human trafficking, they are credible messengers with invaluable insight into how human rights violation manifest, the impact they have on individuals and communities, and the effectiveness of current policies and available services. They serve as a sources of valuable intelligence concerning where trafficking is occurring and the manner in which it is evolving. They must play a central role in policy and legal framework development. They must play a central role. To ensure we are all on the same page, I will try to define a survivor advocate, and I'm sure we can actually improve that definition. But a survivor advocate is a person who has been subjected to modern slavery, such as human trafficking, forced labor, slavery, servitude, or other forms of exploitation, and who is willing to share their vital experiences, insights, and expertise on modern slavery to help in the understanding and building of robust structure that can support the assistance and protection of victims of such crimes. We will now play a 20 minutes interview video with two different survivor advocates, and will then be joined again by Sophie, who will provide additional insight and views.
My name is Favour. I was trafficked from Nigeria to Libya. 6th of April 2017 and returned back October 31st, 2017.
Okay, thank you, Favour. Prior to being trafficked, please describe your life and some of the day-to-day hardships you were facing.
I'm a single mother here in Nigeria. I passed through a lot because I got pregnant. I come with the baby, as in the baby don't have father. I lost his father then. So I passed through a lot. Most of my family, they reject me. Most of them, the one that's supposed to help, they don't have money to help. So I even hawk pure time in Ring Road, then sell fish, do all sort of things to survive with the child. But on one fateful day, I just sit down. I said, I'm tired of this country. I just want to leave. So that is how I was before I left.
Okay. Did you know the people who recruited or trafficked you? And if so, what was your relationship with them?
Okay. On one day, I just sit down. I was thinking to travel, so there was a woman that said her daughter is in Europe, that he always take people from here to there. So I go and meet the woman. When the woman talk, she says, see the money that I'll pay. So see how we are going to the day that I'm leaving Nigeria. So that is how I meet the woman.
Okay. Can you tell us a little more about what your hopes were of your future when you left Nigeria? How did you imagine life would be, outside Nigeria?
I think that when I leave Nigeria, I will be the first lady in Edo State. I was thinking when I get there, I will have everything that I need to have or to be a grown-up woman. And I was thinking too that my child will live a better life, not this life of from hand to mouth. So that was my thought. I thought that I would live big as well. So
Now, are there any factors that may have prevented you from leaving Nigeria if they were in place?
yes. Yes, because before I leave Nigeria, I learned skills. I'm a hairstylist. no money to open shop. So I wish I have a shop then. I don't think I will even think of to travel to Europe. I know through that shop I will be okay because I learned out my skills. I'm a profession by buying it.
You're very good at making.
Yes.
Now we understand that you arrived in Libya after transiting through Niger. Did you have to show any documentation or identification between any borders?
No, because when we were trying to cross from Nigeria border to Niger, so we only see some soldier and some policemen. They stop us. They were asking us where are we going to. We just give them a little money. Then they ask us, is this only the money you people have? We said yes. So some were still bringing out money. They said okay, we should leave. That is how we left Nigeria border.
Could you please describe your time in Libya briefly? How was it like in Libya?
Time in Libya
Yes.
is not friendly. It's not advisable because Libya, women, you can't even walk on daytime. You can't come out. Even when they lock you inside, you will not come out. You will not cough. If you cough, if you mistakenly cough, if Arab people are passing, they will just come and pick the girls, the beautiful one inside, and go and sell them. So they will sell them to connection house. Connection house mean where they are doing prostitution. A woman will be there that will buy the girls, then buy them, put them in their room. So when man is coming, the woman will just collect money from outside. The man will go and use sleep with the girls and come out. So that is how they will get their money back. So that is why when we are there, they will just ask us not to talk, not to cough. So life in Libya is not really easy. So even when after many months when we intend to cross, my first pushing when we get to the sea just tear. That sorry, the boat, the balu, we call it lapa lapa there. So the balu just tear into two one side. People were dying, falling inside. So out of 180 people, they only rescued two of us. So life in Libya is not, I don't really know how to put it. It's not good at all. It was hell. It was hell, my sister. It was hell.
So how did you end up returning to Nigeria?
When I go that first pushing, I said I don't want to go again because I don't want to lose my life. Because the owner of that camp that we are is an Arab man. When you said you want to go back to your country, they don't want to hear it because they need money from you. So the man put gun on my forehead that I should control money, that I must cross, even if I die there. That one doesn't concern you. So far, I will cross. I will pay them money. I will cross again. So I have to control money. Then my madam already abandoned me. I called my brother here in Nigeria, send me money, send me some money to cross. So when we are going again, we are on top of sea. The lapa lapa, the engine got spoiled. So we have to call our pusherman that our boat have the lapa lapa has spoiled though. The man say, okay, we should just sit down and be hoping, just patient. We should not shout. When we shout, the boat will capsize, so everybody will die. So we should just be praying that someone will come, maybe some fishermen will come and rescue us. We are praying. We just it's not up to some hours. We see some two pushermen. When they come, they say, what happened? We told them. They tried. The boat did not, the engine did not on. So they said we should wait, that they will help us. So we wait now. They now go to dry land and bring asthma boys. So when those ones come, they just come with other engine and fix it.
What asthma boys please?
Asthma boys is the kidnappers here. What the people we call kidnappers, people that kidnap people here. So they come with other aging and start our aging. They start the aging. So they take us down to prison. In that prison, no balamish. Balamish mean belly. no bailing, no deporting. They even tell us that no bailing, no deporting. If UN did not answer, then all of us would die there. Then we were 2,300 Nigeria there. So there are still many countries, Niger, all those different countries in Africa, yeah. So we are crying, we are begging, because me, I normally sing. Sometimes I will just go to the man window. I will be crying and singing. I will be disturbing him. On that day, the man just cracked his gun. He said he want to kill me. I was begging him to kill me, that this is not life. No water, no food. I can't stay like this. It's better for the man to kill me. The man said he will not kill me. I said, okay. So after 2 days, the man gathered us. We just enter October 1st. The man just gathered us that we should come. That anytime we see that he leave this prison, we should look for how to escape. We said, okay. So after 3 days of it, the man just started packing his things. He was just saying, where is he was asking people where he was asking about many people. He told the people that, because he will ask of people that is hearing Arab, because most of us, we are not hearing. He will tell them that we should find a way to move, that this place is no longer safe for us, so we should find a way. So when the man left now, he now remained just 2 Arab with guns. So our Nigeria people, they just try to capture them with their gun and lock them inside toilet. The mistake that they make that is that they didn't collect their phone. They only just keep them inside the toilet. Those one now make call that we have escaped. So many of those kidnappers now enter inside desert. We are shooting. They kill many people. Even where we hide, we were 4. So the gun passed through my head and meet the girl that was in middle. So many things happened there. So we still stayed there for good 8 hours before we move. We run from desert for good 3 days, no food, no water. So when we get to somewhere, we see one boy. The boy was just coming. When he see us, he said, are we not those people passenger? We said yes. They say, okay, don't worry. The boy just go to one completed building. He said we should hide there. Say in the night he will come and pick us from here. That he wants to cook food and come and bring for us to eat. So it's not even up to 30 minutes. We see gun on top the roof of the house that we are hiding. I called my friend that, look at guns, it's like they want to bomb this place now. We should just come out to our surrender. Before we know, that boy already know that the police are already there. The boy just call our name, they carry us. We are using us to run. We are flying like we are in a war front. So hide us in another place again. Said he's coming. We should don't talk. We should not worry. That everything will be okay. Before we know now, other policemen come and said, we should not run, no talk, no cry, that we are going back to our country. That is sound somehow. All of us, we all started crying, be shouting. Where are we going to start from? Since how many months? Where are we going to start from? We are crying. But we still encourage ourselves, because many people die in desert. Even we see some that they're shot in their leg that cannot walk. We just leave them, because we too, we are still fighting for our life. So many of them died there. We just said, okay, let's go back. Anyhow, we see it. So that is how we come back to Nigeria.
I'm really sorry about your experience, Favour. Now, what is your life like now in Nigeria? What is your life like?
Now it's better, because I think if I have this opportunity, then I will have no travel. I will have no travel at all, because I think my life is more better. It's more better. It's more better than before. Really. Yes.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Thank you, Favour.
All right, ma.
Thank you, and welcome to this session, Survivors, the most qualified anti-trafficking experts incorporating their voices. The sole purpose of this session is to provide survivor advocates the platform to not only share parts of their journey and the gaps within the systems, but to also hear how they've used their experiences to further protect and support other survivors. Throughout this conference, you will see and hear how imperative including survivor voices are in all conversations around anti-trafficking and modern slavery, and hear the examples and impact that this has created. I'd now like to welcome Raja Ebenezer, who is a survivor advocate, lawyer, and founding member of the Global Survivor Network. Hi, Raja. It is great to have you here with us today. Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your story?
Thank you, madam. My name is Raja, which means king in English. But I have not always had the luxuries of a king or even the luxuries of an ordinary man. I am a survivor of bonded labor slavery. In 2001, my parents were daily wage laborers in Tamil Nadu, India. My parents wanted to get my sister married. It is the custom in India that parents pay for their children to get married. And my parents did not have enough money for my sister's wedding. A brick factory owner approached my father and asked if he would work for him. My father got the money he needed for my sister's wedding. And my father made a verbal agreement that my family would pay back the debt by working at the man's brick factory. None of us realized that this loan was made to trap us into a system where our basic dignity and rights would be taken away. My parents went to the brick factory and started working. I was 14 years old. I thought that if we all work as a family, our debt would be repaid sooner and we will be free. So I started going to the brick factory. But the owner forced me to work more than I wanted to. Slowly, my trips to school became less, and my trips to the brick factory became more frequent. Eventually, I completely stopped going to school and only worked at the brick factory. The work at the brick factory was tough, very tough. We had to begin our work 11 p.m. at night and only finished at 6 p.m. the following evening. We didn't even have enough time to eat one proper meal. We worked around the clock just pay off our debt. Although the wages we were legally entitled to receive were enough to pay back the debt quickly, the owner paid us much less. Our debt amount only grew because of the high illegal interest rate. Our life went on like this for nearly 2 long and difficult years, working around the clock, under abuse, for a growing debt that we could not repay. We were trapped in a hopeless situation, which is bonded labor, modern slavery. At the time, I did not know to call it that. I just knew that my family was trapped in a hopeless situation. But then, in 2004, government officials, along with the IJM, came into our brick factory and they inquired about our situation and told us we were no longer slaves and free to go. The government officials issued release certificates. The purpose of release certificates is to prove that released bonded laborers are free and to wipe the debt that are used to hold them in bondage. After 2 years of confinement and abuse, we walked out of the brick factory as a family, free from the abuse and lies of the owner.
Thank you so much for providing us the privilege to hear your experiences. We do really appreciate it. I just wanted to kind of move on to ask that now you work as a lawyer. Could you tell us a little bit about why you chose that profession?
You know, after we left the brick factory, I went back to school and I completed my schooling with good marks. Then I wanted to serve my community and help others who faced situations like my own. But I did not know which course to do. Then I shared my passion with IGM social workers. They encouraged me to try study law. In 2011, I completed a 5-year degree in law. In 2012, my dream came true when IJM hired me to work as a lawyer. Over the last years, I have prepared my own cases and trained the police officers on the law and assisted survivors of bonded labor from the rescue till the case result in judgment. Today, I stand before you not as a bonded laborer, but as a fully qualified lawyer. I have appeared most of the courts in my state of Tamil Nadu. Every day, I fight for the cause of for other bonded laborers who long for their day of freedom to arrive, just like how my family waited back in 2004. I believe that slavery can end when laws are enforced and systems are in place. Right now, men break these laws because they think no one is watching. For example, my family were not being paid the right amount and were being charged an illegal interest rate. There need to be better system in place so that this cannot happen. And people know there will be consequences for illegal behavior. Employers should be held accountable for how they treat the people working for them. There should not be verbal contract, but proper system including for the informal sectors. It is important that all police and local officials are trained to recognize the sign of bonded labor and other types of exploitation, and that judiciary are able to conduct victim-centric trials. Over the last few years, I have prepared my own cases as a lawyer. I have trained the police officers on the law against bonded labor. helping them to see that they have the power to stop slavery in our country. I have led rescue operation and I have seen survivors joining together to demand an end to slavery.
Thank you, Raja. It's really inspiring to hear your achievements and your efforts towards supporting the anti-trafficking and modern slavery cause. In addition to you doing a tremendous amount of work as a lawyer, you are also now part of the Global Survivor Network. Could you explain a little bit about what that is and why you wanted to be a part of it?
The Global Survivor Network is an international group of survivor leaders who want to see justice system that protect most vulnerable. I am on the leadership council that is forming the GSN, and I also want to bring greetings from the local group in India called the Released Bonded Labor Associations. The RBLA is one of the local group in the GSN, and it is more than 2,000 survivors of bonded labor who are using freedom to demand rescue for others and see community benefits. This association gives us a picture of why survivor voices must be considered when making policies or seeking an end to slavery. I feel so fortunate to be a leader on the Leadership Council of the Global Survivor Network. Since I have experience and walked through the similar path as a survivor, I feel I'll be able to understand and contribute better serving in this role. I am excited, and it is my privilege to be part of the Leadership Council of the Global Survivor Network, and I believe we can create good leaders among the community and encourage each other to serve effectively and be successful in life. My vision for the Global Survivor Network is to see all survivors stand for themselves and fight for themselves. In my country of India and in other developing countries, it is important to have a strong voice to get the attention of the government. Many survivors of crimes like slavery don't have the money and education. Their only strength is unity. So I want to unite those voices to get the attention of the government.
Thank you so much. It sounds like there is a tremendous amount of work that has been delivered and a huge amount of support that is needed for the Global Survivor Network. And it's really inspiring to hear. So I wanted to thank you once again for not only kind of sharing your journey and your experience, but then also inspiring us in terms of how you've utilized your voice to better protect and support others and to ensure that we're holding those accounts. So thank you once again, Raja.
We thank you, the two survivors, Advocate Favour and Mr. Raja Ebenezer, who kindly accepted to share their views today with us. It's truly inspiring. Actually, Mr. Raja Ebenezer is attending the conference at the moment, and if you want to connect with him, please do so via the networking and or the people features. You're also invited to post question in the chat for Sophie. Sophie would be very happy to respond to one or two questions at the end of her facilitation. I now invite again Sophie to summarize key points and elaborate by sharing her insights. Sophie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Adeline, for the session. I would also like to acknowledge Favour and Raja for speaking up and for choosing to use their voices as they've chosen to do so. I think one of the things that I know that CPA wants to do is definitely have a conversation around engagement of survivors and how that looks like. And you can see that there are many survivors. And when we talk about survivor advocates, I think we really need, as a movement, we really need to ask ourselves the meaning of that word and how it looks like in practice, and how, as a movement, we actually ensure that when we talk about survivor advocacy, we're not talking about what we especially people who haven't been affected, want it to be, but rather asking survivors what they want survivor advocacy to look like. And survivor advocacy doesn't look like one thing. It looks like different things. In many cases, when I've been in conferences, the only kind of survivor advocacy that is normally highlighted is survivors telling their stories. And I think, again, I repeat, we need to think as a movement beyond survivors telling their story. What contribution can they make? What contribution do you think survivors like us can make beyond telling us telling you our stories? Survivors, I feel like one of the problems when we talk about survivors, especially in the movement, is they're constantly outside whatever we are doing, and we are wanting to bring them inside what we are doing. And I think that's the problem. Survivors are part and parcel of this movement. And I think when we talk about inclusion, it really needs to be, we really need to reflect on what that means, because inclusion goes beyond just calling people to speak. Inclusion means, real inclusion is involvement, is decision making, is beyond just participation. Real inclusion means listening. And sometimes whatever survivors will tell you is not necessarily what you want to hear. The feedback might not be beautiful, the feedback might not be what you want to hear, but it's what we all need to hear if we are truly saying that we want to be, to engage survivors, and we want survivor advocacy, and we want a rich survivor advocacy. Survivors can create programs and have developed programs in the past. Let us highlight survivors that do that. Survivors like Raj is a lawyer. He's representing other survivors. Let us represent survivors. Let us show and actually support survivors like that. Let us show survivors that are police officers. Let us show survivors that are going above and beyond what we think necessarily is what survivor advocacy is within the movement. And I think as an organization or as an institution, if you don't see a survivor as someone capable of doing, this is how you test whether there is real inclusion. If you don't see, if you can't perceive that one of the survivors that you serve can take your job, then you're really not, according to me, you are not doing survivor inclusion and you're not doing survivor empowerment. We need to be able to actively see survivors as us, that survivors can do the job that we are doing. And the question is, if survivors are to actually advocate and do some of the work that we are doing, what sort of empowerment, what sort of work do we really need to put in our interventions to actually build survivor advocates that can be able to carry out their job that we are doing? If you are CEO of an organization, what you need to ask is, does your organization provide a program that could actually be able to empower a survivor to become the CEO of a counter-trafficking organization? If you're an MP, does the services or the policies in your country, do they work in such a way that they can empower a survivor to become an MP? If they can't do that, according to me, we are still not at a point where we can actually talk about real inclusion. Real inclusion actually means participation. It means decision making. And beyond, we cannot continue as a movement to have survivors play one specific role and then pat ourselves on the back and actually say that we've included survivors. If the agenda of your conference or whatever you are doing does not have input from your survivors, then who are you doing it for? And it's not, I feel like this is not, most of the time when I have this conversation, people end up feeling like it's a calling out session. It really isn't. I really want us to be able to learn. Because if we start talking about ethics and values, we need to ask ourselves, the values and ethics of your organization, how do they become lived, the lived experience of a survivor in your organization or in your system? Because we can talk about survivor inclusion all day, including survivor voices all day. But if we don't put systems in place so that it is actually a lived experience, it becomes extremely hard. We'll consistently have this same conversation and we won't be seeing that. It would be interesting even to see in a conference like this, how many what is our survivor representation just in terms of participants? How many participants do we have that are survivors? That is part of what actually, and if the majority of the people, if you're a survivor, the inclusion cannot even be seen in the participants of your conference, then it's, for me, we are still not where we are supposed to be. Survivor advocates, there are so many, and if you have questions on how to actually get your organization or your whatever you're working on to be survivor-led and to be survivor-informed, there are so many organizations that are survivor-led that would be willing to share. Survivor Alliance in the UK are doing, and Amin and her team are doing an amazing job actually providing resources to organizations that actually want to be more survivor-informed and want to be more survivor-inclusive. So if you need resources, please ask. Survivor advocates are out here to give you as much information as possible so that you are actually doing what we want, and that is to include survivors more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie. And that will be, this is a question I will ask in a couple of minutes through a poll. How many actually survivors and organizations working with survivors are participating in this conference? So we are going to send a poll in a couple of minutes. But before I close this session with you, Sophie, I receive a question from Estelle Blake. Estelle asks you, how can we make sure that the local cultural understanding and experiences are honored when survivors are then out of their country? Would you be able to respond to that question, Sophie?
Yes. So I think this speaks to partnership. If you're an organization that is working in a different country, it's extremely important to look at the survivors that you are taking care of or you're providing services for and actually map out partners from their own countries that can be able to offer you cultural context. I'll give an example of when I was still at heart, and even still right now, Unseen, which is based in the UK, regularly actually asked me to give feedback on some of their cases, just because I could be able to understand the cultural context that they could not be able to understand at that moment. I think most of the time, as people that are providing services, it's very easy to most people providing services, if we are honest with ourselves, really have a savior complex. And that savior complex has the tendency of sometimes preventing us from providing the right services, acknowledging that I don't know. I really don't know how to serve this client in the best way, and I need help as a service provider is the first step. And then saying, where could I possibly get this help? There are so many organizations in the world, and partnership is one of those things, and collaboration that is one of those things that is extremely important. So mapping out, if you have a protection program, mapping out the nationalities of the people you are serving and actually developing actively, intentionally, developing partnerships from those countries is extremely important.
Thank you very much, Sophie. We are trying to create the poll, so that might come a bit late. But I thank you again, Sophie, for providing very deep, very important conversation on survivors being an expert. I want also to thank Favour and Mr. Raja Ebenezer for taking part of that conference. Raja